Anyway, I analyzed this passage in the Damascus document over and over and over and over again, but the main thing there relating to this is the plant imagery. He caused a root of planting to grow out of Aaron and Israel, which is this community in the wilderness. That's really what the root of planting is, this messianic community in the wilderness. Every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted shall be uprooted. He caused a root of planting. Every plant which my heavenly Father has not granted shall be uprooted. A root shall be uprooted. Does the writer of the speech in the New Testament, I don't have the passage here, does the writer who makes that speech in the New Testament attributed to Jesus, perhaps Jesus, if you think all those speeches are pre-recorded with a tape recorder, or if you think we're getting retrospective speech making here 50, 100 years later by later editors like Plato did to Socrates, like Thucydides did to all of his heroes. That was the custom in Greek literature to recreate the speeches of your heroes. Do you think that the root of planting, every plant being uprooted, is aware of this passage in the Dead Sea Scrolls and disagrees with it? Now, do you follow what I mean? I think he does. I think he does. I think he knows this key passage in the Dead Sea Scrolls and their symbolism. And I think he is definitely aiming. So the writer here is aware of this literature, which is the point of my book. The writer here, see now, you say, well, how come people never said this previously? We've had the scrolls available to us for only 50 years. I've been emphasizing that. Only 50 years. You know, scholars for 1900 years didn't have such material available to them. How then would they make a determination that a person who said every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted shall be uprooted is an attack on this passage in the Dead Sea Scrolls? How would they make a determination without the material to make it? So those scholars could never have made the determination you can make now. So that is where the issue is joined. Either you think it's just an accidental resemblance, which is fair. You're not obliged to think like me, but you're obliged to consider the point. That's the only way the issue for yourself. Don't tell me what you believe in your soul. That's for you to go home 30, 40 years and ponder. It's not something you answer like in one day. You know, you think about it, and when you're 40, 50, 60 years old, suddenly your considered answer will emerge in your soul. And then you'll know what you think. But all I'm trying to do is lay the data out for you. So, did the writer, Jesus perhaps, or someone putting words into Jesus' mouth, know the passage in the scroll? The key passage that begins the Damascus document about how the community was formed. The community that I am contending to you is the Messianic community in Palestine that creates the Messianic literature of Palestine. Right? And in the scroll literature, we just don't have Essene literature as our very simplistic confreres who write about this subject. You know, they said forth, they say, well, I don't see your ideas in these other people were writing. Well, yeah, of course, because most of those people are under authority. Most of those people went to Harvard, Notre Dame, Oxford, or some other place like that. And they had dictatorial professors like me, more than me, and I know them. Because if they didn't write what their professors wanted to, they didn't get their PhDs. Period. You know, you say, oh, the professors aren't like that. Oh, yes, they are. You disagree with your professor, and he said, well, you go somewhere else. I'm not going to certify this doctorate. I know people at Emory who were forced to change their doctorates by students of Harvard teacher Frank Moore Cross, who is the doyen in this field and who everyone worships, who is a gentleman, a Southern gentleman, yet his students brook no disagreement with the master, as it were, in an interpretation of the documents. Frank Moore Cross, how did he get important in this field? How did Frank Moore Cross get important in this field? I'm looking for my pen so I don't write on the board for you. You have to understand that 3/4 of the people who teach in this field are dominated by him. They even call him up when there's going to be a hiring at a place like UC San Diego, the few positions in this field, and ask him if he agrees that such and such person should be hired. And if he says no, they don't hire him. Oh, we don't want to go against the big authority. It's like calling up Einstein or someone like that. And then that's why you can only get hired at institutions like this, where you can hide underneath a cloak of anonymity. They don't know you exist until you come out with some, you know, revolutionary or anti-establishment, you know, work, bombshell, whatever you want to call it. And then suddenly they realize you exist and they come and attack you with everything they can do to try to crush you. Make every accusation they can possibly make. You say, no, they don't behave like that. Oh, yes, they do. You can see on the internet some of the stuff said about me by some of these folks 20 or 30 years ago. They don't say it much anymore because I got on the side of the angels when I attacked the James ossuary. And they thought that I would support the James ossuary because I had written the book on James, would help sell my book if there was an ossuary in it, saying, you know, I was the first person to come out and attack it. So it made them think, oh my God, what's going on here? We thought this guy was a corrupt self-promoter, and here he's doing things to damage himself. We thought he was in the hands of Herschel Shanks, the Biblical Archaeology Review editor, and here he's making Herschel Shanks look like a rabble-rouser or an exploiter or someone who's jumped on something to a self-promoting, whatever you want to call such a person. And that's just what he is, all those last three things. So, but this is what happens. So, 2/3 are under his authority. The other 2/3, both of his students are at Notre Dame now. A fellow named Vanderkamp, who you'll read about, and another fellow named John Ulrich. They're nice folks, but they're his students. There is not even a crack of light between his position and theirs. There's not even a sliver of light. He set up the paleography of Qumran with another bird brain called Birnbaum. Get the pun, huh? That guy is about as stupid as you can get. But I attacked him in the footnotes of my Maccabees, Zadokites, Christians, and Qumran, if you're interested in reading this book. But in the footnotes, I attacked him with huge zealotry. And no one ever paid attention to the footnotes of that book, which is lucky because